Hey guys, it's Tim and Terry here today from Money Matters for Everybody. And today we are going to have a Saturday morning money talk.
Hello, everyone.
I don't know if you've been keeping a list. I really haven't this week. It's been busy. Yesterday I did a money talk with TJ. I think you heard it in the background as I was editing it. But gave me a moment of so yesterday we went up to the John Deere dealership store. And the cash register guy, the customer service person who's helping TJ said, stay humble. And I was like, yeah, you stay humble. I'll stay proud. Because I really am proud of his progress and how the progress that he's made, right?
Yeah, he's over the past couple of years, he's steadily grown his business and has been very successful with it for the level that he's at, being a 16-year-old teenage boy
Entrepreneur.
doing
Yep.
his own business.
And he got started like I think at 12, age 12, mowing lawns. It wasn't like a really
Yeah, he did
flourishing business,
a
but
couple neighbors here and there
Mhm.
to start out, and then
it's
you
just
know,
grown every year. We did taxes yesterday, so that was kind of a testimony to how much he's grown. He doubled over last year, which is really good. And now he's actually he's researching vending machine businesses.
some passive
Um,
income sources.
Yeah, just raise your kids to be entrepreneurs and thinking. And I posted an article this week about having read Rich Dad Poor Dad and having an appreciation for just the two different schools of thought. Like most of the students in this country, most kids are raised to become workers,
Right.
not entrepreneurs. And what a huge disservice it is. I guess it would be a problem if they all became entrepreneurs because nobody would be able to find workers. But I think that is an issue right now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Come to think
absolutely.
of it. So, but it was just a reminder to me, like, made my heart humble and proud. That raising money smart kids, it works, right? And just to kind of talk about how we raise money smart kids. We've talked about it numerous times. We'll talk about it. I've said it before and I'll say it again every single time. Pay your kid to do chores. Pay your kids to do
Yeah,
chores.
man. Like we said before, paying your kids to do chores, it helps them develop work ethic. It helps them develop life skills, knowing how to cook, knowing how to clean, knowing how to make a bed, and so forth. Even if they don't need to do that to earn a living as they grow up, it will help them in life.
Exactly.
It's just a general good practice. And by paying them to do it when they're kids, it just instills that habit into them from a young age.
Agreed. Agreed. So our tour chart will provide like a little tagline here for it that we use is available on Etsy. It's very cheap. And this was just something that yesterday, so we talked about how we paid our kids to do chores. We didn't pay them 25 cents, 50 cents, a dollar for some chores. And then they started earning more as the chores became bigger. Like, oh dear, like mowing the lawn, um,
Washing cars,
washing cars,
you
like
know,
bigger ticket items,
cleaning full rooms, and
working garden beds,
yeah,
right? And managing the garden beds TJ has for us, and we paid him for that.
splitting and stacking firewood.
Painting,
So,
painting the powder room, and now he's gonna start painting
the woodwork,
yeah, around
trim
the
around
door,
the
the
house.
trim around the door. So one of his customers actually asked him if he is painting inside, and he's like, soon, soon, soon. So, if you train your children to appreciate work, you pay them. You teach them how to we taught our children how to divide their money into giving, saving, spending categories. We let them pay for their wants and we paid for their needs. Needs,
Clothing, housing, food.
shelter, yeah, housing. Yeah, who said that? Sorry. And we did also pay for sports fees.
We paid for sports and activity fees to an extent. I mean, if it was something super extravagant, we would offer to go half with them.
Like that snowboard
But like
everyone has.
little league and flag football, those type of activities, where it wasn't a ton of money, we paid for that as well.
Agreed. And then they paid for their wants. Anything else? Anything outside of those needs? So last night, Tim and I had a date night. We went out to dinner. Don't go getting all excited. We went to a local burger, or actually
It's
not
a
local. It's a
chain.
chain burger joint. Best $28 spent all week, right? And it was quiet. It was nice time away from the noise. And there was food here at home, but the boys decided that they didn't want to eat the food that was here at home. And at that point, like, we're off the hook. If there's food at home, um, and you want to go out to eat, then you certainly
Yeah,
can.
so they called up a friend and
Mhm.
met him at the restaurant that's within walking distance of here, and
Yep, and they
you know,
paid for it on
they
their
paid
own.
for their own dinner.
And they're aware that when you dine out, that you have to leave money for a tip, that you have to about 20% of your bill. So, not raising jerks, we're raising good, well-behaved children who know the value of money.
And
And
they
it,
know that I know the owner of the
right,
restaurant, so if they ever don't behave well, I
right,
will find out.
exactly. But I also kind of wanted to highlight on, like, we paid for their needs, they paid for their wants. That was not always easy. Like, I make it sound easy when I say it, right? And I think that sometimes people can come at me with, like, oh my gosh, like, you're so callous. Listen, I didn't have a lot of things growing up, so I've wanted to buy my children things all the time, right? I
Yeah,
think it's very hard as a parent. It's hard to discipline your children. It's hard to consistently 365 times a day, sometimes, to implement or remind them of their manners. It's hard. Parenting is hard. And it's hard sometimes to see disappointment in their face when you're not going to pay for something for them. But I have got to tell you that it's necessary. You can pay for things. We talked about this
yeah,
previously. You saw something on vacation that you were like, oh, TJ would like that. Buy it for him, then that's totally fine. But they should have skin in the game.
right.
They should. And it's not always easy, but
Yeah, and like you mentioned in a previous video, it's amazing sometimes how they'll say they want something until you say, okay, we're gonna go grab your money, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden it doesn't become
Oh, you're not
worth
paying.
it so much.
If you're not paying, never mind. It's not worth it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, and so you mentioned, so that was the how, the chore chart. And then, letting them work for money, dividing their money into spend, save, give, and then paying for their wants. And then the why, life skills that Tim had already mentioned. So our boys know how to make their bed. One is less consistent with the other. I'm gonna be
they
honest
know
with
how to. Whether or not they do it every day is a different story sometimes.
Right. They know how to clean their room. Well, and going back on that, I don't think Ryan sleeps with sheets on most of the time. So
Yeah,
I'm like, am I sure? Like, he might think his bed is made because that's how it is all day and night. He does have sheets on his bed, but he doesn't, like, they usually wind up on the floor. Um, they learn life skills. They know how, both of our children know how to do their own laundry. They know how to cook meals, from scrambled eggs.
yeah. Start them
Um,
off simply with scrambled
mhm.
eggs.
Obviously, at a younger age, when our kids were very young, we did not let them cook without us being in the kitchen.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And that's another hard skill too for parents to learn. Have you ever tried to, like, watch your kid make something and not step in and help?
that is hard for the first couple hundred
100 times
times.
easily, right?
But
Because you feel like you're more efficient, you know how to do it better, and you want your children to learn how to be efficient. But guess what? The only way they're going to learn to be efficient is by doing it
over and over and
repetitively.
over again.
So there's
But,
that.
but yeah, I mean, so like we started saying, they started off simply with scrambled eggs.
Mhm.
I remember getting an email from TJ's teacher when he was in second grade. He was so excited to go into our Mrs. So and so. I know why I'm concentrating better because I made myself scrambled eggs for breakfast. I started the day with a good breakfast and I made
Mhm.
it all myself. So he was so excited when we allowed him to do that, and he told the teacher and she relayed that on.
Mhm.
But from there, um, they've picked up more and more cooking ability. Um, TJ has made steak and baked potato dinners for himself, for Ryan,
Mhm.
for all of us sometimes. But
And every day a week, every day each week, Tim or
one
TJ
day each
is
week,
one
yeah.
day each week. Excuse me, yes, one day each week. Not every day each week. TJ will cook dinner. Tim's actually coaching track this spring, and so therefore, at dinner time, I mean, I could do it, but TJ also wants to learn
Right.
additional skills. And so whatever's on the menu, he's picking it up and getting very little instruction on how
Yeah,
to do
and
it.
I mean sometimes I'll help out. I'll prep what I can before I have to leave for track
Mhm.
practice, so that, you know, asking him to help make dinner is not overly burdensome,
Yep,
so that he can still enjoy doing it and want to help out.
yep. And then another life skill, TJ has his business, so he has customers and he has a business to manage. He's working on business development right now. So that is a huge life skill that he would never learn in the classroom,
Right.
in my opinion. He has learned how to talk to customers. We joke here because like the back deck, right outside the back door, that's TJ's office. So like heaven forbid he's talking to a customer within earshot of us. And we noticed that like early on. He just doesn't want to hear our ears. He doesn't want our listening ears hearing him, right? He just wants to be able to deal with his business, manage his customers,
Which,
serve his customers without mom and dad intervening.
which is a huge step from when he first started.
Mhm.
I remember the first couple of times when he put out flyers and people would call. He would basically ask me to write him a script. What should I say to these people? But now he's gotten very good at talking to customers, negotiating prices, and being his own voice. He doesn't need us. I mean, he'll also ask us for opinions sometimes. Hey, so and so customer wants me to do this. Do you think X is a fair price for that?
And we asked him to walk us through his thinking.
Yeah.
How many man hours is it going to take? And so he really has learned incredible skills in how to be an entrepreneur. And I wanted to just kind of step back and say like that was one of the blessings for our family during COVID. We had the opportunity, Tim and I both work from home, and our boys were able to, I mean, honestly, everybody worked from home. If you didn't work in a hospital, you were working from home during COVID.
Right.
So I take that back. But we did
I mean, we were working
historically.
from home before COVID,
Yeah.
so
when we pulled our kids from the public school system or the brick and mortar school to go to online cyber charter, it was not an easy, they weren't happy about it. I was happy about it because I knew we weren't going back. And I knew the schools that they were in, the brick and mortars didn't have the setup and the structure, the remote virtual infrastructure to implement and pivot quickly. And I'll tell you that has been a saving grace for our family, because if you see what's going on in the public school system these days, it's just not good. It's bad. And I don't want my kids in that system. And if it weren't for COVID, like I don't know that a lot of those things would have come out. Now, in all fairness, we pulled our boys from the public school system a couple years prior to COVID. We had some experiences at the public school that were not consistent with our beliefs and the way that we raise our children, and how most of the teachers were good.
yeah, but
You
there are
just need
a couple
one
of-
bad teacher to just completely ruin the experience. Everybody that is in contact with children should love children, and their objective should be, I love children so much that I want to see them thrive and reach for the stars. And if that is not your motto as a teacher, you don't belong around my kids. And the private school where Ryan goes to school, every teacher I've encountered, that is their philosophy.
Yep.
Now, the one teacher he had, she's a little bit like me. She's a little bit bullyish, right, with him. Like, she doesn't tolerate his crap when it comes to not putting his best
Yeah,
foot
but
forward.
it's more so that she knows when he's not working to his full potential, and
Exactly.
wants to see him working to his full potential
Exactly.
and be his best.
Right. But the teacher, I think the issue that we had in the public school, do you remember? I think I like cataloged that exact issue that we had with that teacher.
He made TJ feel uncomfortable in the way he was talking to him, and almost
Laid hands on him.
Yeah,
at
he,
one
he
point.
grabbed him by the shoulder and made
Yeah.
him feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So,
and
and
that-
don't ever I mean, the teachers at the private Christian school where our boys go, as far as I'm concerned, Brian comes home, I swear somebody hugs him all the time. I was like, but again, it's just such a completely different experience. So I think the take home message here was, now TJ didn't go back to brick and mortar. He actually found an option to get out of jail free earlier, right? As he likes to kind of think about it. He's going to wrap up high school in 3 years instead of 4. And we do watch how he's taught in a virtual cyber charter. We do dashboard access. I can go into any of the courses that he's taking now in high school for these cyber charter kids. In middle school, they start pulling the parents away. Like you shouldn't be like helicopter
Right.
parenting with your child's school, but I will still watch. And there are some books that he has been assigned to read that raise my eyebrows, and I look and I read it and I do like a Goodreads review if I can't read it, and make sure that it's not inconsistent with our values.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I mean, even though he's in high school and he's, in a cyber environment, that actually is, a blessing too, in that we have access, we can see the exact lessons that he's being taught.
you can see
And
if he's struggling.
Yeah.
Because if he's struggling, because he's had this Excel class for that he's getting Excel certified, and he's just like not having it. And we talked about this would be good for him because in managing business, it's good for you to
Right.
know how to use Excel. It's good for you to know how to use Word. And he's rejecting it a little bit. Now that teacher for that class, he said, is a lot like me as well, in that she doesn't take any BS. So
and he's had her for several other classes already, so he likes the teacher. So it's really just a matter of getting through the content.
right. And we're not here to bash the public school system. We believe that we are living in a broken world. I believe that wholeheartedly. That means that for those of us who are followers of Christ, we have to be really careful about who our children spend their time around and what their motivation is. And before COVID, I think I probably leaned more on the side that the schools had it together, right?
Okay.
They weren't going to be trying to change my child's sex or gender in kindergarten. But now that that's come to light, like you don't have access to my child's brain, and you're not gonna subject them to things of this world to kind of lose their soul. Anyhow, so I don't want to dwell on that, but I did see this week that Ken Coleman was talking about how many teachers have left teaching because of the political nature of what's happening. They love the kids. They love teaching the kids. Some of them said they love the parents, which if you've met some of the parents, I'm kind of like, are you sure? I mean, I know how difficult we can be too, right?
Right.
About
But as much as we love our children, we also know our children.
we're aware,
So
yeah.
so if we get a phone call from a teacher, we know, okay, well, Ryan can be that way. So
Right. We will
so
talk
we
to
are
him
we are not
after.
one of those
Not my boy.
not my child,
We
sets of
own it.
parents.
We own it.
We know what they can be like, and
Mhm.
what he could put some teachers through.
Yeah. So when you kind of consider that a lot of teachers are leaving, these good-hearted, good-intentioned teachers, one of them went viral for leaving her teaching job to go work at Costco, and how much her mental health did better for going to work at Costco, which Costco, hey, that's a really important job in my opinion too. Like you keep the shelves
Right.
stocked and things operationalized. So I think the long story short here is you just have to be aware as a parent. It is your job as a parent to manage and oversee your child's growth and development on every level, not to delegate it. You don't ever have the right to just delegate it. Like that's not
Yeah,
a
you need to
winning
stay
strategy.
stay involved with it, and be an active participant.
And apparently this is an issue because 1 million students left the classroom pre-COVID and didn't return.
Right, so which means a lot more kids are opting for cyber school or homeschooling.
A lot more parents too.
Yeah, a lot more parents are making those decisions to teach their children rather than sending them back to a classroom. I mean, we know of at least a couple of families that have made that similar decision. Some are doing the traditional homeschooling where the mother and the father are doing the teaching, taking the lesson plans from the textbooks. Others doing the cyber charter route that we had taken, so that it's kind of a hybrid. There's still teachers, but we're also more involved, and they're not in the brick and mortar buildings.
Right. Right. So I think that was kind of important, but just kind of a testimony that don't delegate your child's learning to the school system. Recognize the school system probably is going to set your child up to be a worker, not an entrepreneur. And if a child had the opportunity to become an entrepreneur, I don't even know that at a young age that I would have lined TJ up more, hey, he's going to own a business someday. But because he's had the opportunity to just grow his lawn mowing and landscaping business, it creates a mindset in them that is just incredibly powerful. A mindset that, hey, I don't have to sit behind a desk and do work for somebody else. I can work for myself. I personally think that is what's driving this not being able to find workers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, with TJ, we knew early on that he was more inclined, more apt to do manual labor, rather than sitting at a desk office type job. So, if you're going to be doing manual labor and you can figure out a way to do it on your own rather than having a boss,
it's better.
It's definitely better to do it on your own, making the decisions for yourself and running the successful business.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you there. So hopefully that is helpful. It's just another testimony for us as to why we raise money smart kids, what we're doing to raise money smart kids, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and why you should too. So I think that that's pretty much that.
Yeah.
And that's enough for that conversation. Have a good day, guys.
Have a good day, everybody.
Oh, I forgot to say, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you're not a bot, hopefully. No, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you find this information useful, go ahead and like, share, subscribe. I'll have some links in the video to links to other videos where we actually talked about how we pay our kids for chores and why as well there. And hopefully you find that useful, because you're going to be the one who's teaching your children, and your children are they're going to learn from you. They're going to learn from you, and they're going to want your guidance and your direction. And kids want, generally speaking, want to make their parents happy. They want to make their parents proud, right? I've seen a YouTube video about a parent whose cell phone had died, and when his daughter was working at doing like a gym workout, I think it was a daughter. So he had to put his phone down. And that means that he had more time to look around. And he noticed that every couple of minutes she would look over at him. And she was working out with other kids as well, whose parents were head down in the phone. And their kids were doing the same thing.
Right.
They would look over at the parents every couple of minutes, and the parents would have their heads down in the phone. Just pay attention to your child. I know you can't do it all the time. Put the device away and focus on your child, and read the room when it comes to them, and understand what they need from you, what type of feedback. And there's also an element of letting them fail, right? Like, you can give guidance, you can give advice, but from time to time, life is the best teacher that there is. Experience is the best teacher, right? So I don't know, just had to kind of throw that in there. But anyhow, last time, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just post a comment. And if you found this useful, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, check out other videos, and have a good day.
Have a good night, everybody.